Shall we start?
Yes, Mathew, you can start now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Greetings, everyone. This is Mathew Cherian from United States. Mr. Kaushik Desai from India will join me, and we will be the moderators for this webinar. Today's webinar is on pharmacovigilance. It will be presented by Professor Moin, who is Professor of Pharmacy at Jamia, Hamdard University in India. He is a leading pharmacovigilance expert in India, and he is advisor to Government of India. He has multiple other accolades, that I can mention. But I wish to make a few announcements first. First of all, this webinar is offered as a service to the international societies by FIP, which is the International Pharmaceutical Society. FIP is the apex body for the national pharmaceutical societies. Today, there are over 130 national societies which are members of FIP. But you are welcome to join FIP as a direct member as well. You can do that by going to the website of FIP. This webinar will be recorded and it will be available on the FIP website within 24 hours. You can go watch it. In fact, you can watch all the previous webinars for the past year as well. This webinar will have a question and answers segment, which is at the end of the presentation. I request you to go to the bottom of your screen. You will see a number of tabs. One of them says Q&A. Use that tab to type in your question. Use the chat tab to introduce yourself to others who are attending this. So I would like to turn this over to Professor Don. Professor Don?
Yeah. So, greetings from India, Mumbai. My name is Moin, and I'm acting professor with Jamia Hamdard, besides being the ISOP chapter lead for South Asia. Today, I'm very excited as to present one of a very important and what we call as a very hot topic of the industry, and that is about the pharmacovigilance. And of course, I'm going to be taking you through the pharmacovigilance. I have a challenge on hand because I do not know the mix of the audience who are with us. So I don't know how many of you have really been knowing or aware of pharmacovigilance as such, and how many of you are naive, and how many of you are really having some experience. So I will have to really balance out so that the naive people who do not know much about pharmacovigilance, they also understand the basics of pharmacovigilance, and those who are pretty experienced and those who have been working in this domain, I will also try to give them something which will be a take-home message for them and probably an update for them in their own domain. So I have been associated with pharmacovigilance for the last 2 decades or more, as was said in the introduction by Mathew. And I'm still very much active in pharmacovigilance domain because I'm a consultant and I have my own consultancy agency. So what I'm going to take you through, let me first explain you the pharmacovigilance as the definition today stands by WHO. And very important, this is the UMC publication which gives the definition of pharmacovigilance. I have the 4 terms marked in the red letters, so to understand what pharmacovigilance is all about. So, when you come out with a molecule in the market, then it is the obligation of marketing authorization holder to continuously monitor the safety profile of their drug, which has been recently introduced into the market. So this is one aspect of it. It does not mean that the matured and old molecules, you have to take your weave out of that or they go out of your radar. No. So we have a complete life cycle of a molecule or a drug product, and the safety profiling and the safety monitoring or surveillance, what we call it, has to be done throughout the life cycle of this drug, as long as the marketing authorization holder has this particular molecule or drug in the market. So it is all about detection, assessment, and understanding and prevention of adverse effect. So, the synonym for adverse effect is the side effect. So people normally, those who are not very well versed with adverse event pharmacovigilance, which come from pharmacon and vigilaire. So that means you are vigilant about the safety profiling and safety reporting and assessment about the risk associated with each and every drug that you are the marketing authorization holder. So you have to have a robust program, or you have to have a robust infrastructure and management or mechanism to continuously detect in case if there are new health hazard, or there are new side effects, or there are new emerging risk with your molecule which is there in the market, and then you have to assess and understand what this risk is, what is the new risk coming up, and how you can mitigate or how can you prevent, so that the well-being of the patient or the consumer or the end product user is being assured. So that is the obligation of all marketing authorization holder. So let me make it very, very clear over here. There are a lot of people, those people whom I keep addressing, they feel that it is only the innovator companies and it is their obligation that they should be taking care of the molecules which have been invented by them. It is grossly wrong, because even as the generic manufacturers, it is your duty that if you have a generic molecule in the market, then you would be responsible for the safety and the risk profiling of that particular molecule. So the pharmacovigilance is an obligation not only to the innovator companies, the big names like Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, and Sanofi and all that, but then all other generic manufacturers, those who have their products in the market, you are supposed to be taking care of this. I have also one more red letter word, it is drug-related problems. So as I will go with more slides, you would understand, it is not only typical adverse event, or it is not only typical side effect which has to be taken care of. Now, there are other drug-related problems, which according to the GVP EU Module 6, what we call as the spatial scenarios of interest, the marketing authorization holder and the regulators would like you to even monitor those particular scenarios like pregnancy. What happens when a pregnant lady takes your drug? What happens when she is breastfeeding? What happens with the medication error? So all these scenarios are also you are supposed to be monitoring and taking care of, whether there is a safety event associated with it or there is no safety event associated with. So I will come a little bit later on with this. So let me explain it to you in a simple layman's term that, when you take a drug, so a drug has got two sides like coin. So we have the desirable therapeutic effect for which everybody is taking the drug. But as this comes as a package deal, so that when some percentage of the people do benefit out of the desirable therapeutic effect, there are some percentage of the people, not all, that some percent of the time, there are undesirable adverse reaction that come along with the desirable therapeutic effect. So when you monitor the desirable therapeutic effect, this is known as the monitoring of efficacy, and when you monitor the undesirable adverse event, this is called monitoring of the safety. And the next slide, this is very important, and this, if you understand this, this is the crux of pharmacovigilance. So when you have a molecule, when you have drug in a marketplace, so right from the time when you start innovating or when you go for drug development, you have to continuously weigh the benefits vis-a-vis the risk. And this ratio plays a very important role. And at any point of time, the marketing authorization holder and the regulators have to ensure that the drug which is there in the market or the drug which needs to come into the market, the developers have to prove to the regulators that its benefits outweigh the risk of this particular molecule. And it will remain in the market as long as its benefits outweigh its risk. At any point of time when the regulators feel or where the drug industry itself feels or the marketing authorization feels that the now risk is more compared to the benefit, then you have to bring in risk management plans whereby then there could be some risk mitigation program, or in case if the risk is so high, like what happened in thalidomide, then the drug has to be withdrawn from the market. So we have seen drugs being withdrawn post marketing authorization. So this balance is very important. If you understand this particular idea or this basic crux, which is the crux of the pharmacovigilance, is to continuously monitor benefit vis-a-vis risk of the drug molecule which we are talking about, which we are the marketing authorization holder. Now, I would like to take you through the entire life cycle of the drug. So it is not that the pharmacovigilance plays its role only. Some people think that when we talk about the pharmacovigilance, we are talking about the PMS, that is the post-marketing surveillance. No, this is again a misnomer. This is people have not understood the pharmacovigilance well. Pharmacovigilance or drug safety surveillance starts right from the time when an innovator company thinks of coming up with a new molecule. So you have the pre-marketing era and you have the post-marketing era. So as you can see this particular marker over here, so this is a pre-marketing phase. So right from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3, when we are having or when we are seeing the therapeutic effects, whether we are trying to find out whether there is some pharmacovigilance, some pharmacological actions of this new drug. At the same time, we are also seeing it that whether this drug is tolerable or not tolerable. So before coming to human in phase 1, we had to do a lot of toxicity studies in the animal model. And once we are sure that we have sufficient data to prove that in animal model, this particular new chemical entity, as it is called as NCE, is tolerable and not toxic, then only you take this into phase 1, which is called that first time in human. So this is the first time that the new chemical entity will be introduced in the human population. So that is known as phase 1. And then when you feel that it is safe and it is tolerable, then you go to the phase 2, where the safety again is very important, but at the same time, we have to also do the dose finding, whether what dose will bring up a pharmacological action and a therapeutic activity. And the third phase is the most important, which is also known as the regulatory phase. And this is the phase when the formulation in its form, which is going to be out of the market, a much bigger, larger number of patients are being tried with, and they are normally tried vis-a-vis some comparator to see the efficacy and the safety of the drug vis-a-vis the standard treatments which are already available in the market. So phase 3 will decide the fate of your molecule, whether the regulators throughout the world will accept your data and allow you to bring this molecule to the market, or it will not allow. So that's why this is called as a regulatory phase. So what I was trying to say that the safety does not come only post-marketing. The safety starts right from the time when you start designing a new molecule. But of course, even after doing the 3 phases of the trial, the regulators want the marketing authorization holder, the companies, to continue to monitor the drug safety of this particular molecule in the post-marketing arena. And why this is, I will come up with this slide little later. All right. So why post-marketing surveillance? I mean, people normally ask me, Professor Moin, that why we have, now the cost of a new molecule has gone beyond $1.5 billion. We have been working for 8 years, 10 years on this particular molecule. And then we have so much of data. And on the basis of this data, the regulators of the world have already assured us, and they have given us the permission to go to the market. And then why we have to take care of the post-marketing surveillance as well, why we have to continue to monitor. This is for a very simple reason, that there are some inherent limitations of clinical trial. Clinical trials, you have very limited number of subjects, the patients. I mean, it does not exceed more than 3,000 or 4,000 patients when you combine all the 3 phases of the clinical trial. Then the patient who come into the clinical trial, they are the limited patient and the selected profile that who can be included and who cannot be included. So you have, inclusion and exclusion criteria mentioned in the protocol, and only those patients be coming to the particular clinical trial. And then all this clinical trial are conducted in a very controlled condition when the patients are monitored by clinical trial assistant, and there are investigators and investigators team. So this really cannot be compared. I mean, what data we have got from a clinical trial, it is not a real medical or real world representative data for that particular new molecule which is coming up after the phase 3 trial. And that's why you find, and this is very well known fact, that during this clinical trial, the very rare type of side effects or adverse drug reactions are never understood, are never documented during clinical trial. It is only something which is very common or frequent adverse drug reaction, because your size of the population is very, very small. It does not go beyond 5,000. So this safety data which is available, and that's why you should understand that it is not a real world representative. So when you come out in the open, so like you are coming out from a small gully cricket match to a big, huge stadium, where everybody, once it comes to the market, so, during clinical trial, we don't get pregnant ladies in the trial period. So there are not kids available. So normally the clinical trials start for patient aged 18 and above in the adults. But when this new drug is coming to the market, then you are not stopping people. Anybody can take this drug. So it is really, people who are immunity suppressed, people who are immunity compromised, people who are having multi-pharmacy, a lot of other drugs, they are having other concomitant medication or concurrent illnesses. These all was taken care of during the first 3 phases. But when the drug comes to the market, then anybody who has got some other concurrent illnesses or some concomitant medication which was not tried out or tested during clinical trial, then you can have problem. The patient can have problem. And that's why all the regulators of the world want the marketing authorization holder to do a very, very vigilant post-marketing surveillance of your drug, which has already hit the market. So I hope this particular part is clear. Now, people also have some misunderstanding about who is the real stakeholder of the pharmacovigilance. So I always tell them it is not only the clinical trial team, it is not only the regulatory affair team, it is not only the medical affair team. Each and every person, including the patient, the consumer, the patient lobbies, and people who are non-pharmacovigilance employees of the industry, they are all the stakeholders. So normally, the people who are in the marketing, people who are in the sales, people who are in the labs, as you can see this, I have pointed out here, these people are normally not addressed by pharmacovigilance experts. So nowadays it has been made very, very essential. This is a mandatory requirement by all the regulators, that even all non-pharmacovigilance employees, whether they are in the manufacturing side, or whether they are in marketing, or whether they are in sales and distribution, service provider, you have to train them on pharmacovigilance. You have to at least train them to understand that what are their obligations. If they come to know about any adverse drug reaction, then they have to report it to the marketing authorization holder. So besides the sponsors and besides the medical department, every subject and all these people, they are required to report, or they should understand their obligations of pharmacovigilance and drug safety. So these are the various sources from where we get the adverse drug reactions. We get from clinical trial, we get BAB studies, we get PMS studies, we get from phase 4 and registries. But more important, which this is the actual main source of the pharmacovigilance or ADRs sources, then 80 to 90% of the reports which are received by marketing authorization holders and the regulators come spontaneously. This is reported by consumers, patients, healthcare professionals, employees, legal cases, literatures, media, product complaint, internet, and partners and distributors. So these form the bulk of the ADRs, and based on these ADRs which are reported, then we have to analyze and we have to find out whether there are some emerging new risk with your drug, or whether your drug is still safe. And it's, this balance of risk and benefit is still in favor of this particular product being in the market. Now, what I'm showing to you would be little, of course, those who are very naive to pharmacovigilance, probably this could come as a news to them, that I always say that PV is a serious business in terms of humanity and in terms of commercial perspective. So, people, when we share this type of slides, they say, oh, something like this happens. Yes. So we have more than 2 million serious cases yearly happening because of the adverse drug reaction. There are 1 lakh deaths, 100,000 deaths because of the adverse drug reaction, which is the 4th leading cause of death in the pharma industry. There is more than $200 billion of cost yearly spent on the adverse drug reaction management, and 350,000 cases in nursing home yearly only because of adverse drug reaction. So this is the reality, hard reality, which we have to digest and see. We are not talking of just pain at the injection site. We are not talking about the rash. We are not talking about the headache, or fever, or neutropenia. These are the horrific pictures which I have brought to your notice, that drugs can cause things like this. This is the very famous thalidomide. So this is the kid, and those kids have now grown up into adults, and there are still thalidomide tragedy affected societies who are helping them out. And this is TEN, and this is, of course, is Stevens-Johnson syndrome, which is fatal. And you will be surprised to know that recently US FDA came up with an alarm for paracetamol causing Stevens-Johnson syndrome. So that's what I was trying to tell you, that as long as paracetamol is considered as a very, very safe molecule, but recently US FDA has reported few cases of Stevens-Johnson syndrome, which turned out to be a fatal ADR for paracetamol. So that's why, as a marketing authorization holder, you are required that you would be continuously monitoring the safety profile of your drug. Okay, and they see the cost, in case if there is a problem with your molecule, and then if you are sued legally, then you as a marketing authorization holder to kick out or cuff out a big number of dollars or compensation packages. So Wyeth had to pay something like $5 billion for their FedPen because it resulted in the class action settlements. Bias-Bakol resulted in personal injury lawsuit settlement of almost 1.06 billion. And Merck's Vioxx. I have something else to show it to you, that when Merck decided to remove this particular molecule from the market, their share value dipped down from 45 to almost $25, and which resulted in billions of dollars of loss of market share capital. So that's why I said that pharmacovigilance is a very serious business from a humanity point of view and also from the commercial point of view. And that's why most of the big pharmaceutical companies, they spend a lot of money to have a very robust pharmacovigilance system in place. And I'm not sure, I don't have so much of time to give, but why they have to, because this graph will show you that when you do post-marketing surveillance, there are a lot of new drugs which have come into the market. They have been withdrawn because of the new safety risk because of this newly marketed product. And you can see the number of molecules which have been removed from, in 5 years' time. These are very old data. Of course, I have not updated this slide there, but this is just to give you an essence that in every 5 years, the number of molecules which have been introduced, so many molecules have been withdrawn, and we are all aware of these molecules. There are a lot of molecules which we are aware why they have been withdrawn from the market. And that's why this makes it very essential for pharmaceutical company to continue to monitor the emerging risk or emerging safety signals with the molecules which have been approved by the best of the regulatory authority of the world. Okay, so now let's see this. Now there, as my topic suggests, that I also want to just keep you appraised of the changing scenarios of the PV world. So let us see about the regulatory authorities of the world. As all of us know that it was US FDA and MHRA and EMA and PMDA. These were the most classic benchmarkers. They were considered as the gold standard for drug safety and drug efficacy, right? And from there, other people slowly joined them and came up with their own regulatory authorities. So we have BfArM in Germany, we have NSM in France, we have Anvisa in Brazil, we have TGA, Australia. And then we did not limit ourselves to there. It's a global phenomena that when we also see in Asian and Middle Eastern countries, now the entire 18 countries in the Arab League, they have come up with Arab League guidelines, and these guidelines are now being picked up by most of the Middle Eastern countries, and they are asking pharmaceutical company to apply these guidelines. We have Korean FDA, very strict, very stringent. We have India, we have CDSCO, and we also have Pharmacovigilance Program of India. Today, you must be knowing that we have got more than 500 ADR monitoring centers spread all over India, collecting safety information. And PVPI has also asked all the marketing authorization holders who are operating in India that besides sending their adverse drug reaction to CDSCO or DCGI of India's office, they have to also mark a copy to PVPI, and that's how more and more information is being collected by PVPI. As you should be knowing that we also have Chinese FDA and we also have the Singapore HSA. But now what should not come as a shock to you, that even smaller territories, I'm talking about Kazakhstan, I'm talking about Brunei, I'm talking about Malaysia. I was surprised to know that that one of my fellow industry person asked me that Kazakhstan is coming for a PV inspection in India because they want to register their molecule in Kazakhstan. So besides the GMP inspection, they would also like to see the PV robustness, that how good their PV system is there. I was shocked when I recently did an audit in Malaysia and Brunei. I found out that the Brunei requirement for reporting adverse drug reaction is much more stricter than Malaysia and other countries. They want all serious cases to be reported in 7 calendar days, not later than 7 calendar days. Can you imagine? There is a Brunei, a small territory country, and they want the marketing authorization holder to report all serious adverse drug reaction not later than 7 days, and they will be penalized in case if they do so. So this will give you in a nutshell. Of course, I can speak for hours on all of them, that what are their requirement and how we are harmonizing the reporting requirement, because this is not only ADR reporting requirement. Please remember, we have to report the PSUR aggregate reports, we have to report the signals, we have to submit the safety variation. When we have new signals, we have to change our labels, and there are so many things which we need to report to the regulatory authorities. So it's a very big, bulky topic, and you will need hours to understand what are the roles and requirements and what are the responsibilities of marketing authorization holders, and how the regulators, they are keeping a very tight vigil through inspections, and these inspections are taking place everywhere, not only in US or EU. It is now taking place in India as well, by Kazakhstan, and by our own CDSO has started doing, inspection. So there are also changes. So when I said that the paradigm is changing, so the paradigm is not only changing vis-a-vis regulatory authority, but it is also changing vis-a-vis the marketing authorization holding company, the pharmaceutical company. So, there was a time when we used to report, we used to send the paper SIOMS 1 form, or we used to send an ADR form. So you should be knowing now that the US FDA and EMA has stopped, MHRA has stopped taking any paper reports. So every reporting, the entire reporting has to be done through e-reporting. It is sometimes through, like, even in Malaysia and even in Korea, you have to go to the health authority portal and you have to submit your form over there. Then now, if you go forward, there is E2B reporting, database to database. And in KSA, the pharmaceutical companies are expected to send the report in XML format. This is a very special electronic format, which a manufacturing company or the MAH is supposed to send it to KSA, FDA. And also now the PSURs are the what is known as the periodic safety update report. So these are aggregate reports which needs to be sent either in 6 monthly interval or 1 year interval. So depending on what is the shelf life and how long your molecule has been in the market, there are various requirements. The EMA has got some different requirement. India has got some different requirement. But now we are trying to harmonize, and in USA they want paid us. So now there is a harmonizing over there, that instead of paid us, you can also submit the PSUR which you have prepared for the European authorities. So this also now needs to be either sent through CDs, or you can upload your PSUR, which can be as bulky as maybe a 500-page document, depending on the molecule what you are talking about, whether it is a molecule which is anti-cancer and having a very huge or toxic risk profile, then your PSUR can be as simple as maybe a generic company sending a 15 to 20-page PSUR, compared to a innovator company who is sending their anti-cancer drug PSUR, which can be consisting of almost 500 pages. Now, also there are some changes as far as the authorities are communicating. Authorities are concerned. It is not that US FDA is sitting in a silo and MHRA is sitting in another silo. So now what is happening, that all these regulators are talking to each other, they are communicating to each other, they are opening up their offices, They are placing their own officer in other health authorities offices. So they fully know well what is happening where. And please remember that if US FDA comes to know, or when they do an inspection, this inspection finding, and when they give you a 483 form, please remember that it is not between you and the US FDA. This comes to their domain, so this become a public domain information which is available to everybody who can go to the MedWatch US FDA portal and see that from the US FDA inspection, what findings were there for this particular company. So this is everybody. And from the US FDA, the news percolate to EMA and MHRA and other regulatory authorities. So you can expect that other people can come and say knock, 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 and come and inspect you. Okay, so this inspection findings are in public domain. And now, as we all know, that US FDA is having an office in India, and there could be some more regulators who would be opening offices in, especially in the market, which are very, very important from the healthcare business. So China is another market, Japan is another market, India is another market, of course, US FDA, and Europe is definitely big market for healthcare industry. So now, from the industry perspective, so see the paradigm shift, and I think you would appreciate people who are into manufacturing and pharma formulation. We started with simple molecules which were matured, like paracetamol and aspirin. From there, we then we evolved into new molecules with very limited information on the risk profiles, like monoclonal antibodies. From there, we came to biosimilars like insulin. The structure is so complex, the molecular structure is so complex. And as we know about biosimilar, the risk of one batch differ from the risk of the another batch, because one batch which is manufactured of a biosimilar is not typically same as another batch which has been manufactured using the same manufacturing technology. Then we have medical devices. Now everybody is coming to know about the medical devices, and medical devices is becoming a hot topic, and especially we have been using insulin pens, and we have been using pacemakers, but now we are also having drug medical devices combination, where the safety and profiling and safety monitoring is becoming all the more complex. Why? Because you have to monitor the safety part of the device. It is a technical portion, so there can be some defects, there can be some problem with the device, but at the same time, through this device, you are delivering drug into human body. So there can be an issue related to the technical quality of the device, and there can be problem with the drug which is being delivered through the device. So that's why this becomes a very complex scenario for drug companies who are using drug medical devices. And sooner, I think by April or May, I must inform you people that no medical device will be allowed to be marketed in India until and unless it is completely registered with DCGI's office. So people who are into medical devices, they have to find out what are the rules and the requirements for medical devices. So we have a specific branch called Vigilance, and you will have to refer to that. And as you would see this, I said that now it is not only typical drug, typical adverse drug reaction. You have to also take care that if a pregnant lady is taking your drug, a breastfeeding woman is taking your drug, there is a medication error, a lack of efficacy case, or off-label use, or unexpected benefit. All these particular scenarios of interest we need to document, irrespective of the fact whether there is an adverse drug reaction associated with medication error or not. But then we have to take care of that, and we have to report it to our company, and then company will take care of in the periodic safety update report as and when they prepare a periodic safety update report. Okay, so I'm almost now So another change in paradigm with the industry, and this is very important. Now the entire pharmacovigilance, it is less dependent on human being, and this is more technology driven. We are using extensively the artificial intelligence and machine learning to, otherwise, can you imagine hundreds of thousands of the cases coming to a CRO or a KPO like TCS or Cognizant or, for example, big pharma companies, how they would be able to process the ICSR or cases which are coming to them. And so the third thing, very important, is automation, so that there would be less and less manpower involved. And of course, as today's mantra of the world is that most of the pharmaceutical companies of the world, they are outsourcing pharmacovigilance to various other sectors or territories. And India is one of the most desirable destination for pharmacovigilance outsourcing, as we all know. And I'm not sure whether you would be knowing all this, that according to a latest survey, I read across that 70% of the pharmacovigilance work from all big pharma companies is being outsourced. So they are keeping almost 25 to 30% work of pharmacovigilance to themselves. And something very surprising, and something it augurs very well for Indian pharmacovigilance and healthcare, professionals, that India is managing, and India is processing 80% of the ADRs, ICSR cases, 80% to the tune of 3 million cases every year is being processed in India. So that's a huge advantage to people who are working in India. And India is really becoming a very big pharmacovigilance hub besides Brazil and Manila. So very soon, this is a old picture of this. These are the places where WHO monitoring centers are there, and there are some gaps. I'm sure by this time these gaps have been filled up. So more than, I think there are 140 countries where WHO monitoring centers are there, and they are actively working over there. So you will not be surprised that even the smallest, tiniest territories in the globe, probably the WHO will come up with a monitoring center over there. And even in India, the 500 ADR monitoring center, we are adding up to that. So there will be every tiny city or township that probably with the tertiary care or with the hospital, academic hospitals, we will be coming up with the PVPI's ADR monitoring center. So this was my last slide, and now I'm open to question and answer. Of course, I went through the slide deck very fast to complete this in 45 minutes. I hope I have done justice to the slide deck, and people have understood. As I initially, I told you that this is a huge topic, and in 45 minutes, I cannot do really justice with this topic. So now the floor is open for question and answer. Kaushik, you can read out the question for me, and if possible, I will be able to really reply. Okay?
Yeah, thank you, Moin, for an excellent presentation. You made a complex subject really simple. And also the pharmacovigilance, which has been little bit new to the pharmacist, but very important topic from regulation point of view, as well as from the patient perspective. We have a few questions, and your presentation has excited few people to know much more about pharmacovigilance. I'll start with the basics first. There is a question: is there any country that pharmacovigilance is included in pharmacy curriculum as a separate course?
Yeah, so we have been really struggling with this. Even in India, we have been wanting this to be part of our pharmacy curriculum. And unfortunately, this has not happened. So what has happened, there are many private sectors or training organizations who are actually training people on pharmacovigilance as a separate domain, and they are giving diplomas and they are also giving the certificate course, and that's how people are learning. But up till now, this is my own experience that people have actually learned pharmacovigilance hands-on practice. But there are some countries and there are some regions, like in UK, there is a company, there is an university which is giving an MS degree in epidemiology, which also covers pharmacovigilance. But there are very few countries where pharmacovigilance has become part of the curriculum. And this is very important that all medical related curriculum and pharmacy related curriculum, at least in the final year, some part of the pharmacovigilance should be included so that people have awareness about this.
Yeah, thank you, Moin. Another question. As we are all aware, if it is an expected AE stroke listed in SMPC or stroke PIL, HCPs usually don't have the tendency to report. However, it is still important to gather these reports.
Yes.
Do you have any world examples that authorities apply to increase the awareness of safety reporting in general?
Okay, this is a very good question, Kaushik. This is very important, and we keep telling the people. I mean, when I used to be training my sales and marketing people, I always used to train them on this particular aspect that you should always promote safety reporting to your healthcare professionals when you are there in their cabin, and you promote them that this company is taking care of after sales services, that when your person or when your patient is taking my company's drug and is having any ADR, we should be informed, so that, you know, the problem with these are the misconceptions which are there. There are many misconceptions like this. So people say that this particular drug, this particular thing is listed, so this is known and this is documented. But we don't know that what is the frequency of this particular event. So the frequency will be decided depending on the number of cases which will be reported to us. So it is quite possible that a particular this thing which was not reported or which was very rare can become a frequently reported this thing. This can be changed. This label can be changed depending on the number of incidents which have been reported to the pharma company. Take example, example I give you, Stevens-Johnson syndrome. Now, Stevens-Johnson syndrome was never heard of for paracetamol, and now this has come up because somebody has reported to the healthcare professional, and healthcare professionals are reported to the US FDA and also reported to the company. So that's why it is very important to encourage the healthcare professionals and people also to directly report to their health, like US FDA, you can just directly go and you can fill their MedWatch form 3500. Then you have yellow card for MHRA. Then we have the red system for PVPI. So wherever these channels are open, I would suggest that all the patients and consumers and patients relative keep reporting, irrespective of the fact whether the healthcare professionals, because of any reason, there are a lot of reasons. There are surveys why healthcare professionals are not reporting. Some of the reasons are they are very busy. They also say that if we report, then there will be follow-up questions that what is the outcome, what were the other thing, and they will be asked to fill a 3-page ADR form, and for which they are not ready. So there are many things which actually discourage healthcare professionals from reporting.
Yeah, thank you, Moin. There's another question. What are the procedures after receiving any ADR? What we need to follow, the steps to solve the cases of ADRs, or how we can handle the ADRs?
Okay, so see, this is a what I would say, that when an ADR comes to me in a pharmacovigilance department of an affiliate level, so we have a very robust pharmacovigilance system by most of the multinational companies. So they have their headquarters, they have their regional offices, they have their affiliate offices, and then they are also doing literature search and getting ADR. So when these ADRs are coming, and ADRs are coming in thousands and hundreds of ADR, naturally you need to do the analysis. So naturally, manual processing is not possible, and that's why I said we are using artificial intelligence, we are using machine learning, and we are using technology like we are using safety database. So this safety database are very advanced safety database, and the two most commonly used safety database is Argus and ARIS-G. So this safety database really help us to not only to gather information, the information coming from all possible sources for n number of molecules, and do what is known as a signal generation to know that there is a new information, safety information coming up for this particular molecule of yours. So this signal information which comes at the headquarters because of the safety database, then this is further investigated whether this safety signal is a false noise or this is really a fact. So what we call as a validation of the safety signal. And then case if this is not refuted and this safety signal is validated and the marketing authorization holding company comes to know that yes, this is the new risk with this particular this particular molecule, this is being reported to all the health authorities where this drug is marketed. Then also subsequent changes are made in the labels because the SMPCs and the PIL are supposed to go to the consumers and the healthcare professionals. Sometimes dear healthcare professional letters are also being sent. So if there are some very important safety signals and new emerging safety risk, then the pharmaceutical companies issues dear healthcare professional letter, and this goes to the specific drugs who are the most prescriber in that particular therapy area of that particular drug. So we write to them, dear healthcare professional, so you have been writing this particular drug, but recently we have come to know that this drug can cause cardiovascular event, this can cause such and such event. So be careful, and these are some of the precautions which you have to take. So this really helps in the safety and well-being of the patients.
Thank you. Thank you for very elaborate explanation on the subject. There's another question which is recent, little bit debated. In 2022, all of us know Indonesia withdraw all syrup medicines after cause of acute kidney injury in children. It turns out to be medicine contaminated with ethylene glycol. My question is, how can we as a pharmacist in pharmacovigilance to read the sign of warning? Because sometimes it's confusing whether it's an error only in one product or a batch or on the entirely the same product. So we could reduce the risk, especially the death cause. Your comments, basically.
Yeah, this is very important, but at the same time, you should know that as a pharmacist, or me as a pharmacist, now if just looking at the bottle, I cannot say anything. So we will come to know only when the drug is being consumed. So pharmacovigilance comes into play when a drug is being consumed by the end user, and because of various reactions and outcome once the drug is being ingested or taken into, and then we have pharmacodynamics and pharmacokinetics. There cannot be any pharmacodynamics and pharmacokinetics without taking the drug into your body system. So as a pharmacist, you have very lot of limitation to say anything about a syrup, whether what all ingredients. I mean, even if you read the label, it would say, but then there can be some other toxicant within that particular syrup, like what has happened with this particular elixir. So, the pharmacovigilance come into picture or come into play only when there are outcome after taking the drug inside or after applying the drug, even if it is a tropical formulation. If you apply a particular even if you take an injection and there is an injection site bruises or something like that, then pharmacovigilance come into play over there.
Yes, thank you. Next question is, there is a misunderstanding from the physician's side that if they report an adverse event, they will get in trouble.
Yes.
They are afraid that they may be sued due to the side effects on the patient. How can we prevent this? Do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, Kaushik. So I said that there was a survey and which has listed out many reasons why a healthcare professional is not reporting. One of the reasons is this, that they feel that if they report, probably they will be involved in the legal suit in case if there is a legal problem with that particular company and with that particular product. So they are very apprehensive, especially I have seen this with Indian healthcare professionals. They said that you see in case if there is a problem, and they should also understand it. I mean, the basic understanding of pharmacovigilance is wrong. It is not the formulation or brand or that particular drug. It is the medication. It is the ingredient. It is the active ingredient which is known to cause this particular adverse drug reaction. The doctor, the formulation has got nothing to do with it, and he cannot stop or prevent this ADR from taking place because that API, the active ingredient, is known to cause. So that's what I said in the beginning, that there are two sides of the coin. This particular API is giving you efficacy, a therapeutic benefit, but at the same time, that API is known to give you some side effects. Take example, I mean, I can give you, there are a lot of onco drugs. So all onco drugs are known to cause alopecia, fall of hair, then nausea, neutropenia. This is all known. But now these anti-cancer drugs are life-saving drugs. So you have to take this into consideration that I have to save my life, but at the same time, I have to be aware of this, that this will cause me neutropenia, then hair fall and so on. So unfortunately, this is a misconception by the doctors, and they should realize that they should not deprive anybody of giving a medication only apprehending that there could be a adverse drug reaction.
Yeah, thank you. There is an information, not a question, because we have been discussing about introduction of pharmacovigilance course in the curriculum.
Yeah.
One of the academicians has informed that Pharmacy Council of India, who forms the pharmacy curriculum in India, they have introduced recently pharmacovigilance in the new curriculum for pharmacy graduates as an elective subject for final year pharmacy students.
Yes, this is an elective subject, and I have been taking this subject for some of the colleges, including Jamia and Hamdard. So this has become an elective subject in the final semester. So,
Yes.
I mean, you cannot, you decide that you don't take this and you take regulatory affair. So this is not a compulsory subject. What we are saying that it should be at least some part of pharmacovigilance should be introduced as a mandatory curriculum for all the pharmacy students.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
There's a question, which should we look out for, adverse drug events or adverse drug reaction?
See, now I could not cover all the basics of pharmacovigilance. Adverse event is an event where the causality is not certain. So when we don't know whether paracetamol has really caused a skin rash or not, then it becomes adverse event. When you have sufficient information on that particular case, you have all the medical scenario, medical presentation, and by which there is a causality algorithm which most of the pharmacovigilance professionals and companies use. And through that causality algorithm, you come to know that yes, this skin rash or Stevens-Johnson syndrome has been caused by paracetamol or by this particular product. Then the AE become adverse drug reaction. So what you are looking for basically is adverse event, and then this adverse event is being analyzed to see whether this is an adverse event or adverse drug reaction. So the only difference between AE and ADR is the causality analysis. When causality is positive, it becomes ADR. When the causality is not known, it is known as adverse event.
Okay, thank you. There are 2-3 questions on the same issue. The participants, they want to know, is there any central database which can be accessed to see the existing molecules, any adverse effects, or maybe the development side?
Yeah.
So is there any such database or portal available for people to see?
Absolutely. So US FDA gives the dump of their own database every quarter. So you can go to US FDA and people will find it difficult, but then you can ask some pharma professional. So this entire database is available for all pharmaceutical companies and PV professionals to see what type of cases have been reported for all the drugs which are being marketed in US FDA and for which areas are being reported to US FDA. This entire dump is available for everybody to see. You can filter it out, you can see it, and you can make use of it for signal generation
Thank
and
you.
signal validation.
Yeah. Nowadays, these dietary supplements have been used maximum, maybe particularly during COVID as well as post-COVID. How one can do pharmacovigilance in nutraceutical products? You have any suggestions?
Yes. So there are some nutraceutical, like I know in China, have been registered as a drug. So because when it comes into drug, the costing is different, and when it becomes a food supplement, the costing is different. So for such then nutraceuticals, then you have to be, if you have registered this as a drug, then naturally all the pharmacovigilance obligations are necessary. So we are still in the early phase. I mean, in India, there are a lot of companies who do not have even any pharmacovigilance system in place. So, I mean, after the drugs, then we will go to the medical devices, and then we will go to cosmetics, and then we will go to food supplement. So there is still time for the world to go to food supplement. I think we have to first struggle and make our pharmacovigilance system very robust for the drugs, the prescription drug, non-prescription drug, the generic drugs. Then we have the that the market of your medical devices will be huge, and it is going on increasing. And then of course cosmetics are coming in a big way, and cosmeticovigilance is again there is a huge one big branch of cosmeticovigilance, and then probably we'll go to the food supplement. So
Yeah,
we still
we'll take
are
the-
not there.
Yeah, Moin, thank you very much. We'll take the last question, the quick one. Although you touched very briefly on that. Will artificial intelligence help in pharmacovigilance?
So artificial intelligence as part of the technology, and we are taking care of this. With this, we are using this technology in a very big way. For people who would understand this, let me tell you, like how currently we are using artificial intelligence in surveillance or doing literature surveillance. So we have thousands and thousands of articles which are there on PubMed or Medline, and a company who has got 100 molecules, they have to do weekly search and find out for this their 100 molecules, are there any safety information available on hundreds of thousands of articles which is there on PubMed or which is there on Medline. If you try to do it manually, you will go mad. So there comes the artificial intelligence which works out an algorithm, and then algorithm checks out these particular molecules for which you are supposed to do the literature search. They come out with the only those abstracts or those extracts or those articles where your molecule has been identified with some adverse event. So it really facilitates your literature monitoring work or obligation which you are supposed to be doing on a weekly basis. So that's how artificial intelligence is going to be used even in case processing.
Yeah, thank you very much, Moin. That was an excellent session, and I'll request now Mathew to quickly conclude the last part of the event.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you, Professor Moin. This has been one of the best webinars that we have held lately. Very, very wide interest. We still have questions that we don't have time to answer. So it shows how much interest there was in your presentation. And we thank you very much on behalf of FIP for such an excellent presentation. If you wish to answer the unanswered questions, you can share your email address if you wish.
Yes.
And these people can write you directly and try to get an answer from you.
So I'm on LinkedIn. My profile is there on LinkedIn. So you can post your questions on my LinkedIn profile. And as and when I have time, I will definitely give you answer. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
My email ID is very simple, moindon@gmail.com.
Okay. Thank you.
So on behalf of Industrial Pharmacy Section, FIP, Mathew and myself in particular, we thank all of you for participating very actively in this session. I am very happy to see that right from the 7:30 we started in the last minute. Also, all participants are there in this session. That's really great session, as Mathew put, that we are one of the best webinars what we had so far. And wishing all of you a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and very
Happy New Year.
eventful and Happy New Year of 2024. Thank you very much.
From my side also, please get in touch with me in case if you have any question. You can just write to me on LinkedIn or moindon@gmail.com. Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks
Thank you,
FIP
Professor.
for inviting me and giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much, Kaushik, Mathew, and Marian. Thank you.
We also thank FIP headquarter, Marian, to support this webinar. And with this, we end our webinar. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much.